I've just counted things up, and in 2024, I've made 418 videos for YouTube. 419 counting this one. And I've produced 200 drawings for those videos, 200 new drawings. And this made me think, what's happened in this year for me through this process of making videos that have actually improved my drawing. Improvement is certainly increased when we deliberately stand back and think, what's been happening? What have I learned? What have I been trying to do? What have I achieved? Why has it worked out that way? And then most importantly, therefore, where will I focus in the near future? So here are the 4 things I came up with. For me, the first way is working on understanding the drawing process, or at least my drawing process, because of course there is no one way to draw, no one method. The best process for me is the one that delivers for me the sorts of drawings I want to create. It's been making these videos where I do talk about process, the 218 videos that weren't an actual drawing demo, but where I'm explaining how to think, or at least how I think, and what I'm aiming to do. That's really, forced me to think much more deeply about the process, and importantly to put it into words, because what we do always flows from how we think. Even if we're not thinking in a sentence by sentence way in our mind, there's still something happening that's pushing me to do what I'm doing. But the clearer I can understand what that is, then the more I can embrace the starting point and make any changes that I want to make or decide I need to make. And when you're making videos with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many bullet points, it certainly forces crystallizing what's often fairly vague thoughts into quite specific language. And if that's benefited any of you, it's benefited me even more, because I've taken that focus on all of these points from all of my videos, and I can see the change in my drawing over the year. Let me tell you the specific part of the drawing process that I focused on in this year, and that was the drawing the effect, not drawing the object. And you'll have probably heard it at least in terms of when we draw leaves on a tree, when we draw tree canopies, we try and draw the overall effect of the leaves. We're trying to capture an effect, not draw the detail, because there's too much detail to draw. When we try and draw all the detail, we end up with creating a less than realistic effect. But what I came to realize as I thought about and scripted these drawing process videos is that in fact, everything is better understood in this way, that I'm not actually copying anything. Even the more box-like subjects, even the more geometric subjects, I'm still, with everything I'm drawing on my paper, I'm trying to capture a certain visual effect. And because I'm either basing my starting point on a photo or what's in front of me, it's very different to what I'm going to create with a fine liner black pen. Not just with the grass or the leaves, but with the windows, the doors, with the whole house, with lampposts, with cars, with whatever's in my scene. I'm still trying to capture the visual effect of what I see. And it's when I work at doing that, that I'm guided towards the most helpful lines and marks I can put on the paper to achieve that. And the effects that I'm trying to create will change according to the color, the value, the lighting, the distance, the condition, the weather. And each of these things will combine together to give me the visual effect that I'm trying to work out marks on my paper to capture. And I would love to hear in the comments something that you've seen yourself focus on in 2024 in your drawing, and now you can see improvement in that area, which flows on to the second thing I think I've focused on, worked on, and improved through. And that's at the very start, before I let my pen hit the paper. I work hard to visualize, to see in my mind what my drawing's going to look like in as much detail as I can. I try and get a sense of where the focus is going to be and why the focus will be there. What's peripheral? What's key? I also try to get a sense of what marks will be heavier or clearer or closer together, or more perhaps slowly, more carefully drawn, and which ones might be lighter, more gestural, less detailed, for whatever reason. I find that the more I can focus before I start my drawing on how I want it to look, how I want the marks to change and to build together over the whole scene to create the finished drawing, the more from the very first mark on the paper, I can be guided in a more accurate way to get the result I want at the end. It's like the difference between starting an essay, having a plan, and not having a plan. When I have my bullet points ready before I start the essay, I can make sure that everything I say flows in the best order, in the best way to get to the end result, I suppose, making the case for whatever point my argument is making in the essay. But it's exactly the same with the drawing. If I can visualize how it looks at the start, it guides me through every step of the way. Where's the best place to start? What sort of marks are helpful? What order do I do things in? Where can I perhaps confidently make marks? And where am I really just making positional marks to guide me at a later stage? What impact is local color, contrast, lighting, the scale I'm drawing, the size pen I'm using? What effects will these things have in my thinking about what to do and how to do it? And you may have heard me talk about the importance of experimenting with marks beforehand to see if they're going to create the sort of effect in just 1 or 2 minutes that I'm hoping they're going to have. And if not, playing around a bit more, changing what I'm doing till I do find, if you like, a solution to the challenge of what marks will create the effect I want on the paper. Then I can confidently start. And visualizing the end result particularly helps me in the first half of the drawing, which I personally find the more challenging half, because we're still trying to establish the overall framework for our drawing. And of course, drawing directly in pen, I can't erase any marks I put on the paper. This next one is quite different, and I think I benefited from it without intention. But because I did this series of 10-minute real-time drawings during the year, I did a lot of smaller drawings, simpler subjects, ones that I could fit most of the drawing into a real-time video demo. But what that meant was I did a lot of simpler subjects at a smaller size, smaller scale than I had been doing. And what I experienced was that my drawings improved faster because my learning cycle increased. And by learning cycle, what's involved in the process, and that really is when we draw, when we put into practice the things we've read, seen, thought about, been inspired by. And by looking at the results, I can see whether that sort of thinking is giving me the guidance I need to get the results I want. And please hit the like button if you're finding this interesting. But the fourth area I came to focus on was the importance of edges. I came to realize that rushing to draw continuous lines to outline shapes seldom created the effect I wanted. And so I came to realize that a lot of the lines I was drawing actually cut off options I came to see I wanted for the marks I might use and the effect I might create if I hadn't rushed to put continuous lines down as quickly. And so my starting of my drawings has become more tentative. There are more dots or very light lines. I've learnt at the start to often hold my pen at a very shallow angle to the paper, which for the pens I use can usually let me get a very faint line, which gives me precision, gives me accuracy in seeing the shape I'm trying to establish, but allows me later on to create a more realistic effect with form and with effect with surface texture. Edges tell a story. Edges tell us about shape, condition, sometimes about colour, sometimes about lighting or darkness, sometimes about the condition or the materials, sometimes about the weather, sometimes about whether a silhouette edge that we see is actually a sharp corner or it's a surface curving away from us, the way the trunks of these trees are behind me. Once upon a time, I would have rushed to draw an outline coming down the outside of the trunk. But now I've come to see that most of the time, a series of lines, of marks, of dots, of gaps creates a more realistic effect for a form which actually is curving away from us at the point where we lose sight of it. Edges tell far more of a visual story with our scene than merely defining a shape. And so while it was really, say, last year that I came to focus on making marks and came to think about making marks rather than drawing lines to create a drawing, I feel like it's in establishing my edges this year that I've really been able to focus on this and to create a more satisfactory result for how I want my drawings to look. But please tell me in the comments something that you've worked on this year, that you've focused on and you've been able to see benefit. It may be something that you've made progress on that's really going to benefit someone who's watching this video. So please put it in the comments and have a look at the comments. One of those may hold the key for your next area of improvement. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Thanks for joining me this year. I hope my journey has been able to overlap with your journey in ways that have helped you achieve the sorts of drawings that you want to draw. But remember, whatever you want to achieve and however you're working your way towards achieving it, in the marks you make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.